how to land a $50,000 wholesale deal before 2026 even starts. Everybody waits until January before they start fresh or they revamp their business or they do whatever it may be, right? And what's cool about this time of year is because of the holidays, everybody starts checking out. So every year we start our year with the bulk of our profits being generated in like January, February because of the work that we do these next 3 to 4 months, right? So I tell everybody, like, if you're in real estate or you're thinking about getting into real estate, this is one of the best times to do it, to get going and start ramping up for the holidays, because competition goes away. They're like, I'll just make it up in January or whatever. And that time frame, guess what? There's people that still need to sell their homes. And when all these other people are taking vacations, you're the one doing the closings. So the truth is that most wholesalers, why this happens is they're stuck doing or chasing the volume, right? They're trying to do the 5, 10, 15 deals a month. And they're hoping that a bunch of little ass deals is going to amount to a substantial amount that's going to make, even a little bit of difference in their life. And the truth is that it doesn't. It's too much work. This is why they burn out towards the end of the year, and they can't wait until, pretty much like Thanksgiving comes around, and then they're done. Right? They're like, it's the holidays, title companies aren't working, and give me a million and one excuses, and they're done. Right? Or worse yet, they're just waiting. Waiting to get all the knowledge, waiting to know everything, waiting for their CRM to be up and perfect, waiting for whatever reason people are waiting to have a website. I don't even begin to understand, if you're not closing deal, what the hell a website even matters. They're waiting. They're waiting for perfection. They're waiting for something to happen, some miracle to happen, while they're waiting before they can start actually closing deals. And this is the issue, right? If you keep waiting for something to happen without doing anything about it, nothing's going to happen. And what I'm going to do at the end of this training, I'm actually going to give you pretty much a 4-week action plan that will have you between 8 weeks before you can lock in your next deal. You could do it sooner, but I would say on average 4 to 8 weeks before you get your next deal and closing at least a $50,000 deal by the end of the year, if you follow these steps. So I'm going to show you that whole breakdown. But the shift that I think needs to happen is, instead of you chasing the 20 deals a month and, all that nonsense of the volume game and doing all this crazy stuff, is just stop playing the small game. Stop chasing all the little deals. Stop, calling thousands of leads, text blasting, hiring VA callers and all that nonsense, and actually start focusing on closing 30, 40, $50,000 deals, right? Aim higher, aim for more distress. And I've done a bunch of trainings on what this looks like, but I'm gonna go over it again on this one, so you have a kind of like a refresher, and I'm gonna tell you which other trainings to watch based on the following steps I'm gonna give you. But in reality, the way to do it's so simple, right? If you're starting off and you don't really have a lot of money, or you really just need to make a lot of money, is start with your buyers, not the sellers, right? Your buyers are going to tell you what sellers you need to go after. So, you need to find the people who are ready, know what they want, they have the money ready, they know the strategies, they know the city, they know everything. So they're able to actually move quickly once you have a deal. And what this does is it breaks down into a framework of 5 steps, right? So I'm going to give you every single step. You guys take notes. This is the time to lean in. And again, if you have any questions, this is what I'm here for. Ask away. I will answer all of your questions. So step number 1, pick the right buyer first. So you don't need 200 buyers or massive buyers list or access to any of these platforms that say we got all the buyers, all the cash buyers. You don't need any of that nonsense. All you need is 4 to 5 solid buyers in your area that they can close. They know what they're doing. They know what the city looks like. They know this is what they do day in and day out. So I build my buyers list by attending local meetups, Facebook groups, and networking with people in there, like specifically with the Facebook groups. You want to look for buyers that are every time somebody posts like a wholesale deal or anything of this type, see who responds underneath. Now, the majority of the people that are going to respond underneath are other wholesalers trying to daisy chain and all that lazy shit. But you want to look for the ones that are actual buyers. And this is going to be some outreach for you. So you're going to have to reach out to them, make sure they're actual buyers. They're not wholesalers. You don't want to work with them. They don't provide any premium value as far as how much you're going to make on a deal. So you want to make sure you're networking with the real people, with the actual buyers. And they're in there. I promise you they're in there. One thing too, to expand on this point, because I've done trainings on this, on how to build your buyers list, is when you are in these Facebook groups, right? Don't just look for just, let's say, San Antonio real estate investment groups. Look for Texas-wide real estate investment groups, because there are buyers that are in these Texas-wide ones that are not in your local one. So if you're in Tennessee, Missouri, California, it doesn't matter. Do the same thing, because there are buyers that have connections, people, boots on the ground, and they're just not active in every Facebook group. So you need to be, right? So look for these buyers in other groups, and then attend every local real estate event that you can possibly attend to find these buyers. Every single real estate event, every single networking event. Even if you got some guru coming through town and all that, go to it. Not because of what the guru is going to try to sell you, but because of the people that are going to be there, right? Everybody in there is going to be some form or another of a real estate professional. Network. And be specific. Only network for buyers. Network for the buyers that you need. Now, step 2 is you're going to reverse engineer their buy box. Now, you can ask questions as to like, what zip codes do you buy in? What conditions of properties are you looking for? How fast can you close? You can do all that. But what I've noticed is not too many buyers want to answer those questions, right? They kind of get, they feel like, here you go, another wholesaler and all this. What I found works so much better is get curious. When you meet somebody that you say, hey, what do you do? Very typical intro, right? What do you do? Oh, I flip houses, all that. Wow, that's so cool. And what was the last house you flipped? Well, actually, I'm doing one right now. Oh, really? Where? Oh, on this side of town. Oh, wow, that's so cool. And how'd you find that one? Oh, I found it through a realtor. I found it through a wholesaler, right? And then it's like, well, what do you like about the house? Is that typically what you do? Yeah, these are the houses. I mainly focus on this area, blah, blah, blah. Now they're telling you all the same things they would tell you if you were to ask it directly, but it's more in a conversation format. And it's more of you asking them questions about themselves and what they're doing. And people love talking about themselves. So the more you ask questions like that, and it's like, oh, and do you manage the rehab yourself, or do you have like, a GC that runs it? Like, how do you handle that? Oh, whatever. I don't care what the answer is, right? But like that leads to, so do you look for like big renovations, or do you like more like cosmetic things? Like what's something that you typically go for, right? So it's all the same questions, just in a conversation. So why this matters so much is because a lot of you guys, when you speak to investors and stuff, you don't tend to respect them. You tend to look at them as like, well, I'm doing you a favor, right? I'm going to bring you deals. And what you got to understand, I bought from a lot of wholesalers, is everybody thinks that you're going to be amazing at this, but you're not. And all you're doing is wasting our time. You understand? So like, that's why you get a lot of buyers that tell you, look, when you have something, just send it to me, because they don't even like you. They don't even want to waste their time to like you, right? But if you start having a conversation with them, now you become a likable person. When you become a likable person, they're going to be more likely to open up to you. And this is going to matter as we get to step 5. But this is so important, because these are the ways that you're going to get all the answers you want. And you're going to be able to ask them, is this typically, are you buying like using your own cash? Or because I hear that there's a lot of people that use hard money lenders, private money. Like, what's your go-to? Right? You'll get all of your questions answered when you frame it in a conversation, starting with the last project that they did. Another little takeaway there is the last project that they did, I want it to be within the last 3 months. Because if they haven't done a deal in the last 3 months, they're not that active. If they're not that active, they're not going to be able to move that quickly on a deal that you get. So I want something in the last 3 months. 6 months plus, I will look at it as like maybe a second tier buyer, which means that they could be a buyer that could be a hit or miss, right? They might be there, they may not be there. You don't know. But somebody that's doing deals consistently, those are the people you want to go after. So, step 3, pull highly targeted lists based on what these buyers want. So, if they're telling you, I want houses from like my buy box in San Antonio, right? 1978 or newer year built, 2,500 square feet or between 1,000 and 2,500 square feet. Um, there's very specific areas that I want to stick to that meet that parameter, right? So I'm looking for certain types of property as far as renovations, nothing that requires any tear downs, any additions, anything too major, right? Because I don't like doing major rehabs anymore. I've done them. They're not tremendously sexy to me anymore. So I don't look for those things. So I have a very targeted list. When you take your buyer's very targeted criteria and you take it in your list, now you're able to take a list that could be thousands of properties down to maybe a couple hundred properties, right? And if you use the training that I did, it's on spearfishing. It says it on the thumbnail. I want to say it's a few weeks ago. If you take that training, you'll see how to take a list and really niche it down based on motivation. Now, I've made it I try to make it a big point during the time is that motivation is not the same as just getting a small list, right? A lot of people, they say, well, I have a list of 100 properties. What are those 100 properties? I drove a neighborhood and I got 100 properties. That's not a niche list. That's just a small list. The difference between niche and small is the quality, right? So quality, a niche list, quality means motivation. A small list is just a number, right? So you can get 100 properties that out of that 100 properties, guess what? You got to niche that down into quality, right? So it's not the size of the list, it's the quality of the list that matters. Where you hear that before. So you want to make sure you bring that down to a more manageable, more motivated list. Why do you want higher levels of motivation? Because if you want to close a deal within the next, 8 weeks, you need to make sure they're highly motivated. Somebody that's looking, thinking about selling, maybe would like to sell, that's not motivation, right? They could wait months. They don't care. But we need somebody that's highly motivated so we can close something right now. And that's how you're going to do it. So make sure to watch that training. Step 4, seller conversations that create certainty. What I mean by certainty is that you need to be 100% certain that they need to sell, not want to sell. They need to sell, right? We waste way too much time and effort chasing people that want to sell versus people that need to sell. Somebody that needs to sell is somebody that cannot either take care of the foreclosure, they can't take care of the taxes, they can't, fix up the property, they can't maintain the property, they can't even visit the property. Like, these are all reasons why somebody will need to sell a house, especially leading into the winter months, right? You have frozen pipes, you have people break in. There's a lot of risk associated to maybe a property being vacant, and then if you add other pain points like delinquent taxes, code violations, foreclosures, things of the sort, you're going to have more levels of motivation. And what you want to do is handle and work with people that are there, that they need to. It's not it's not an opinion. And I did a whole sales training on how the framework that we use for converting sellers. I think it's broken up into 2 parts, and it also was probably like within the last month or so. It's on the channel, so go check it out. But like, I did that whole sales training exactly showing you how we go through it. And one of the biggest things is once you understand that they need to sell, then you go into step 5, which is lock up the deal and deliver it directly. So once you know that they need to sell, I prefer you set an appointment. This is why the whole virtual wholesaling nonsense, I don't agree with. You're not going to get the high margins like this. They're going to be much harder to do. Where in person, your chances of closing these types of deals, especially when you're starting off, are tremendous. You understand? Once you have the skill set maybe that I have, then you can close from wherever. But I also have 13 years in the business, right? And so it's a very different, I think, gauge to go after. But when you are starting off or you need something quick, local is always going to be better. So you figured out they need to sell. Go to the property with the contract, Take contracts with you to every appointment. If you don't have contracts, you don't even have the intention to close. Take the contracts with you, show up to the appointment, and close them. You don't show up to the appointment to see if they want to close. You already established that. You already know they need to sell. Show up to close them. It's not that hard, guys. But the mindset that you go at these appointments with matters drastically. So make sure that you, when you're showing up with appointment, with the contracts, with everything like that. Then when you have it locked up, send it over to title, open title, and what you're gonna go is reach out to your buyers right now, the buyers that you have, and you're gonna send them the address, a link of the pictures, and the price that you're asking for the house. I've done trainings on how to price your homes, how to do all that. You know, the vetting process, like the running the analysis. We don't do 70% minus repairs, none of that nonsense, because that will cap your profit tremendously. So I've done plenty of trainings on those. Go check those out. But on this one, like just those three pieces, and you'll only send them to the buyers that want to be in that area. Now, remember at the beginning when I said you get your buyers to like you. When you're like, but John, I don't know what to offer. I don't know what to do with this property. That's what you have your buyers for. You're going to send the link to the pictures to your buyers. You're going to be like, hey, man, I'm talking to the seller. Here's what the property looks like. It's in this area. Where do you think you need to be at? Right? Or maybe throw a number out there. Hey, do you think you can be anywhere near the 340? You know, and they're going to come back. They're going to do their analysis of like, man, honestly, on the area and based on these pictures, I could probably do 280. Awesome. Anything under 280 that you get, that's your wholesale fee. I typically try to aim for, you know, when I was starting lower, 30 to 40 grand spreads, just so it gives you some margin. Now I won't chase a deal unless there's like 75 grand or more, but that's me now. Me then was more like 30 to 40 grand. So I would say from the, what did we say, 280? From the 280, I will probably start around 230, 240, start negotiating with them to try to lock it up that low. So then once they go see it, maybe they say, oh, nah, I can't do 280. I can do 270, 275, but they're going to be pretty close to that. And again, because you build that trust and rapport, you're going to be able to actually, you know, you're going to be able to actually lock up a deal that you already have sold before you even do anything, right? Like, you know, it's ready to go. You know, the buyer's ready to go. So it's going to be something that's, it's easier to do. Okay. So those are the 5 steps that I will follow, to do that. And the way it's going to break down is, you know, like I was just thinking about, I did a training recently on AI, how I use AI. And I took a student's list. He had 3 lists, right? So he had tax delinquent, probate, and code violation for Orlando, Florida. And some of them were pretty big lists. He's like, what do I do? Threw all 3 into ChatGPT. I was like, where do they cross-reference? It popped out another sheet for me within like 15 seconds, 56 properties to go after out of thousands of properties. 56 properties. Now you can spearfish these properties. You can skip trace them properly. So we are using right now Smart Skip to do this. Use Smart Skip, be very targeted. If somebody's that sees, look for the heirs, all these things. Go in the weeds on each one. It's only 56 leads. But out of those 56 leads, all you need is one. You get one deal. I promise you, in a market like Orlando, you're looking at 6 figures plus off of just one deal. You understand? So the margins are tremendous. Now here's your, there's a 4-week, I kind of came up with a 4-week action plan, and it's to generate a deal within the next 4 to 8 weeks. All right. So week 1, build your buyers list. I want you going to every networking event possible in your area. Join every Facebook group every single day, guys. I want you building your buyers list. All right. I would say no less than 10 new buyers that you access on a daily basis. Every single day for the first week, that's all you focus on. Because again, your buyers are going to set up what you go after and how you get deals done. It's so important. I get so many students that they bypass this process because everybody out there teaches that the deal is the only thing that matters, right? And then they finally, quote unquote, get a deal and they're like, oh, what do I do with this? Oh, gee, I wish somebody would have told you to build the buyers list first. because you think it's a deal, but until you have a buyer that's ready to buy it, you ain't got shit. So you want to make sure that you build your buyers list first. So the first week, focus building on the buyers list. And if you're curious as to like how to get some more in-depth coaching from me and more strategies like this, you could just schedule a strategy call with me at pwmcall.com, and we'll see if I can help you out any further that way through the mastermind that I run. Now, week 2, you're going to start reverse engineering that buy box that they have, and you're going to start seeing like what type of list is going to make the most sense in your area. Why do I say this? Is because everybody hears that I do foreclosures. So they're like, oh, I'm going to do foreclosures too. It's like, no, that's not how it works, because not every market makes sense for foreclosure. If you're in a judicial state, I wouldn't do foreclosures. They take forever, right? If you're in a state where you can't pull foreclosures easily from the county website, not worth going after. So all these things matter. You got to figure out what's the best type of list that you can go after in your market, right? The spearfishing video, again, it's going to help you, give you a nice understanding of the different types of lists that are out there. So I would recommend, again, pre-foreclosures, depending on your market, pre-probates, especially if you're in a market that allows affidavit of heirships. I would do pre-probates just because most people don't go after those. But the pre-probates, anything outside of foreclosures needs to be stacked. So it would be stacked with either tax delinquent, code violation, vacant, like any of the sort. Like it needs to be stacked with something else. This is how you're going to build a more niche list. If pre-probates doesn't work in your market, tax delinquent works in majority of markets. You just got to make sure it's a tax deed state and not a tax lien state. So just kind of look for those things. Let's see. I gave you a bunch of those in that training. So just go in there and kind of see which list makes the most sense in your area. And then you're going to reverse engineer their buy box with that list. Now that you got that list, you cleaned it up, you got it nailed down. Remember, it's quality, not quantity. I don't care if it's a list of 50 properties, 70 properties. I would say anything under 100 makes the most sense, but very niche. Now, week 3, we're going to skip trace these properties individually, not batch skipping. All right. And batch leads, all that is crap. Don't use those services. They're trash. Use something, like I said, Smart Skip. For calling, you want to use either Resimply or you can use smartphone. It's one of those. Either one, they're good. They record calls. You can buy multiple phone numbers, but I would use that and skip trace every single lead individually. So you see, oh, the person's dead. Okay, let's look for a spouse or an heir. And then you're going to call every single one of those numbers until you get a hold of those people. And then again, you get somebody that's motivated, somebody's ready to go. You're going to contract them. Week 4, you should start already full blast marketing. So from week 4 to week 8, you should be marketing and contracting at least a deal. And it does work that fast if you do the work. If you don't do the work, if you don't reach out to buyers, if you're not building your buyers list because it's boring or buyers don't want to talk to you, you got your feelings hurt. I don't know what nonsense excuse you're going to have, but if that's the case and you don't do the work and you skip around, you're like, you know what, screw that. I'm just going to do week 3. I kind of know what the buyers in my area want. Sure. Good luck. Let me know how that works. Again, I've been coaching for years now, and I've seen it across the board. Every time people say, oh, John, I really know my market. If you knew your market, you wouldn't need me. Okay? Not trying to be a dick. I want you to make money. You understand? That's why I'm saying the things I'm saying. I want you to close deals. This is why I'm breaking it down this way. So right there, in the next 8 weeks alone, you do this work right now, you will be crushing. So by the time the holidays come, oh boy, you should be set up so well that you should be starting January with like a pipeline of a decent amount of high margin deals. So again, if you're serious about this and you don't just want another training, book or strategy, then just call me. You know what I mean? If you don't want just another course that has a shit ton of videos you got to sort through, just my program is very simple. I see where you are, where you want to go, and I tell you exactly what to do. You understand? I build your business with you. I tell you what videos, what trainings, what systems, what lists, everything based on you and your market. So if you want more of that, hand holding and actual accountability, then it might make sense for you to just set up a strategy call with me. The link is always in the descriptions. It's pwmcall.com, and just pick the best time that works for you. But yeah, guys, like this is what I use with my mastermind students. You guys, they get more advanced strategy than this because they're actually successful already. But if you're starting off and you need it, this is exactly what I would do, step by step.